everyone, today I'll be doing a solo flawless on the Savathun Exorcism with Hunter. For my subclass, I'll be using Top Tree, Marksman's Dodge with Nightstalker. Kinetic, I'll be using the Stasis Peacebond with Headstone. Next, I'll be using the Coordinate Solar Fusion. For my heavy, I'll be using the power of the Lament. For my helmet, I'll be using double sword ammo finder, protective light with 10 recovery. Gauntlets, I'll be using 10 mobility, fusion rifle loader, unstoppable sidearm with taking charge. For the exotic, I'll be using the 6 Coyote with double arc resistance, striking light, and 10 mobility. For the legs, I'll be using powerful friends, sword, scavenger, and the arc mod I am forced to use to get powerful friends. Next, I'll be using passive guard and double void mod of perpetuation. Or in other words, it reduces your class ability when using your dodge. So I decided to go for the Hunter Top Tree, spam a lot of invisibility with the Lament. Now for this method, this is just my own opinion. I know people would disagree or agree with me. I always like to use the fusion, right? And just get rid of the 3 shriekers. Now there is no RNG where they can be spawning, so they always spawn at the same spot. So I'm gonna be waiting until the shrieker will open and say, "Hello Blitz, what's up?" I'll be spamming the fusion rifle. Now you can turn invisible for Top Tree, by the way. The shriekers won't detect you. Only for Top Tree for now, and for Bottom Tree it doesn't really work. Just to let everyone know if you are thinking of going for Bottom Tree. Now I'm gonna go to the next shrieker, and once again I'm going to use the fusion rifle to spam DPS and take him down. So usually what I like to do is get the most difficult part of the first shrieker, and then the 2 shriekers are not so bad. They're very easy to take down with the solar fusion. Then I'm going to go and capture the plates. Now be aware that when you do take down the shriekers, there will be ads spawning on a Pacific area, well, Pacific plates, etc. Now, it is always best to turn invisible if you do have it, which I haven't done here, which I was just holding the Lament charge. But you could just turn invisible, run around circles. Of course, you have to be careful with the fire. And you can take down the ogre. I do highly recommend if it is too close. And you can just wait until you capture the plate. When you do capture the plate, all the ads from this section will despawn. You must be careful and be aware of your surroundings because there will be a lot of arcs and voids that will be shooting you, and they will throw nades of where you were standing before when you turn invisible. Now I'll be going to the next plate at the top right side, or the top left side, my bad. If there are major knights close by, you can take them down and then capture, and then start to capture the plate. Now I am using Peacebond. You can also use another sidearm, but for me, I decided to use it just to mess around with the stasis crystal. And I was just crouched down and just trying to hide, but you can see that acolytes can still see me. And over here, you can also just avoid Unstoppable Champion, but I decided to just try to take him down. And I completely forgot that I already completed a plate. So the last one, I always get the far middle side or right side. This one will be a little bit tough, so if you do have your super, then highly recommend to use your super right away. The third plate is probably the most difficult part because there will be a lot of thralls that will push you. Unstoppable Champion will push as well, which you must take him down. I wouldn't recommend to avoid it unless you are Bottom Tree. Then of course you can go all out with the infinite invisibility, with the exotic helmet, etc, etc. So there is infinite ways of ads, so it's always best to capture the plate as fast as you can. I am trying my best to ignore the second Unstoppable Champion, since I really don't want to bother myself taking them down, since when you capture the plates, all ads and Unstoppable Champions will despawn, and now we can go to the next section. Now for Warlock, you can use the Devour. For this one, for Titan, Titan, probably Stasis. Titan will be nice, especially dealing with the boss. But anyway, you could just run forward until we go to the next section where we need to take down waves and waves of ads, wizards, barrier champions, mini boss ogre, and no shriekers. But there is a shrieker at the bridge, but since we're on Hunter, we're going to be taking advantage of the power of the invisibility. So I'm going to turn invisible for Top Tree and then just get the hell out of here. So I'm just going to run forward and ignore the shrieker since we're on Top Tree. So I'm just going to keep running and running until I go to the next phase. The next phase can be a little bit difficult since I don't have double void resistance. I do prefer to use the striking light, so when I am using the sword, when I'm running, the resistance is very, very high. And that's just for me. Everyone's playstyle is very different. Now there will be 2 ships that will spawn ads. The safest for me, everyone's different, is the left side. I barely go to the right side where the ship, where you can see right now, and I just never really go there because I always have a hard time of getting demolished, destroyed by the void from the ship, like around here where I'm standing. And it's not really the safest spot. I try to avoid as much as I can, and if you do see a barrier champion, take him down and then just pull back. I usually take down the mini bosses. If there are champions, I take them down with the Lament. If there are wizards, I take them down with the Lament, or if I do have super, I would definitely use it. Now, when using your super for the top tree, I recommend using it when there is a lot of mini bosses. And when I mean a lot of mini bosses, I'm talking about the solar wizards, like 2 solar wizards, a lot of major knights, and a lot of wizards. You will see very soon which one I'm talking about, but it seems that there is many phases, and it's best to take down the mini bosses as fast as you can. That way you can control the ads, and you must be aware when using Lament of the ships. The ships can destroy you, and they do shoot a lot of void. So be aware that sometimes, I don't know why, but sometimes the ships can melt you if you are not paying attention. So always move around, especially on these ships. And you can see over here, there is a lot of mini major bosses. So always take them down because they all shoot void. And we don't have void resistance for my characters. So take them down quickly as possible when you have your super. Or if you don't have your super, just go on the left side a bit, like where I'm standing, and then turn invisible and try to take them down as fast as you can so you can get your... Or you can just, of course, use your super when you have it. When you do take down the mini bosses, then there'll just be 1 ship from the right side. You can take your time, it doesn't really matter so much, but just be aware that the ship can kill you, and that's just something we don't want it to happen. So just add control, make sure the acolytes don't shoot you with the fire, and make sure you clear down ads as much as you can. And if you do see major bosses like the ogre right here you see, or wizards, take them down quickly as possible with the Lament. Now we'll be going with the next phase. And this phase isn't so bad, but just have to be very careful. I was just browsing, seeing when would be a good time to just spam Lament, and this will be a very good time right now. So I turned invisible. I was just looking how many mages are. You know, there's 3, 4. I was just counting in my mind how many are they. So when you are going to go and spam Lament, make sure you are taking down the major knights, at the same time clearing down the acolytes. The first thing you must do is take down these majors, and then sooner or later when you do clear up all the ads, then there'll be barrier champions, which you have to be very careful and taking down quickly as fast as you can with the Lament. Which is why I recommend to have double invisibility for the hunter so you can abuse it. And why not? I mean, Warlock abuses Devour, so let Hunter have fun as well, right? If you do see 2 wizards and the ogre, it will be a great time, the right time to use a Lament. Well, it'll be the right time to use your super right away. Use your super right away when you do see the ogre and the 2 wizards that will spawn at the middle of the map or the back of the map. Once all the ads are clear, then you can go rally the raid banner. Make sure you rally the flag before starting the final boss. So there's going to be 2 phases. Well, one phase will be dealing with the 2 mini bosses. One really annoying sniper, and one taken ogre, which I like to spam orbs, but you could take advantage of it with the power invisibility, or you could just stay in Save 14's bubble. During this phase, we had to take down, well, we had to damage, I would say, more than half the health for each of these 2 mini bosses. You will have a bubble for Saint 14. Now, just to let everyone know, Saint 14's bubble will not break, so you can actually just stand the bubble as much as you want and take your time. The bubble won't break at all. Yes, not even joking. Which is gonna make the final boss a big joke. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to make the final boss a big joke. The only thing is, I was taking my time because of the invisibility. But the most toughest part for Hunter is dealing with the 2 mini bosses.
Concentrations of Xivu-Arath's forces are closing in on our position. Protect the queens.
None shall enter.
So you'll see Saint 14 will pop a bubble. Thank you so much. To be honest, without the bubble, Jesus, it would be really tough without the bubble for doing this run. The first boss that will spawn is the sniper, the one that has duplicate of visibility. It's the one that has shadow clone. You know, this boss finally decided to take lessons from Naruto and is having this ability of shadow clone no jutsu. Yes, I am going to make a joke about that. And a lot of these copies can melt you. So I do recommend to take down the shadow clones or the copy clones. If it's really hard. I'm really trying really hard not to make jokes, but and when you do find a real mini boss, you must be very careful because when you are using Lament, this boss loves to run away. And another thing I like to mention is he can stomp you, which is why I recommend to put passive guard when you are using Lament with the hunter. So this boss is so annoying. I mean, I'm trying to use Lament, but he keeps running away. It's like, hello Blitz, you can't get me. So if this mini boss is running away from you, just go back to the same bubble, wait for your invisibility, and then just try again. Now I am using the sidearm. So the most toughest part for the hunter is you will have to take down these copies, these clones. That way, if they do try to hit you, you won't get melt down. Well, you won't get 4 shot at the same time. So just be very careful with the copies or the shadow clones or the copy clones. Because the one thing you don't want is where you're doing DPS at the boss and then these 5 snipers shoot you at the same time and then that's it. You know, you die. And we don't want that to happen. So because I did a lot of DPS at the first boss, the second mini boss is the ogre. If he does start to spam the blight, just go in the same bubble. Now, just be super careful when you are in the bubble because this ogre can push you off the map. So just be super careful with him. Now you can just turn invisible and then get the weapons of light and then just do DPS. Then pull back at the same bubble and then you could just do it again and again until he just disappears. Well, until he spawns back to the area at the top left side, or was it the top right side? So this is the first phase or the mini phase, and I just want to say that just be careful of the sniper mini boss because I feel like sometimes I let my guard down and I get melted when I don't take down the additional copies from the boss. Now this ogre isn't a big threat at all. It's just that the boss likes to walk around. That's about it for that boss. Now there is a bit RNG with this, so I will say this, that sometimes during this boss fight you will deal with either barriers or unstoppable champions. On my test runs, I notice sometimes I get just barriers, and then there are times where it's just all unstoppable champions. Now, if it's barrier champions, you can ignore them or you can take them down if they are getting in your way. If it's unstoppable champions that are spawning like right now, especially when you're dealing with the 2 mini bosses, or well, I would say the last one, then lure the unstoppable champion to the Saint 14's bubble and then take him down, because the unstoppable champion is more of a big threat than the barrier champion. Much more. If the barrier champion is in your way of doing DPS at the final boss or at the sniper mini boss, then take down the barrier champion, then go back to the bubble. So you can see I did ignore one barrier champion since he's not in the way of dealing with the mini boss sniper. It looked like everything was going well, so I decided to go and try to take him down and turn invisible, and then you can see there's another copy. So just be very careful of the shadow clones or the copies because they can still damage you, especially with the sniper, and the sniper is void and I don't have void resistance on my hunter, so they can melt me pretty bad and we don't want that to happen. Once again, this is going to be the last mini phase for the mini sniper, and I was trying my best to just save my invisibility and at the same time try and take down the snipers with the sidearm. So just be very careful, especially dealing with this phase. You can also spam your fusion rifle if your sidearm is just not cooperating with you, especially on console, you know, the recoil. Let's not forget about aim assist on console. Yeah, remember that? That can be a drag as well. If I do want to speedrun this, I could ignore the shadow clone or the copies of the mini boss, but I'm not gonna risk it because I've done it and I always get destroyed buy the copies of the mini boss snipers, and it can be a nightmare. Not only that, sometimes the mini boss likes to run away when you try and use Lament, and then it lures you to a trap where there are other shadow clones that can snipe you along with the barrier champions, or if you haven't take down the barrier champions or the unstoppables, then it could be a problem. So yeah, you can see I'm taking my sweet time at the first phase, because I want to make sure everything goes perfectly. At the same time, I was farming some heavy, so I was just spamming my sidearm, spamming my fusion, and I was just trying to see if I can get a couple of heavy so I can quickly take down the final boss. So finally the ogre's at the top, and now I'm just going to be taking down a couple of champions since we're going to go to the next phase. Now this is the phase where I highly recommend to have a lot of heavy. Have around 44, maybe 40 to 58 ammo to get ready to do DPS at the final boss. Now I was just trying to see where the boss is, and he's all the way from the back. You could turn invisible and do DPS, fall back, go back to the bubble. When you do go back to the bubble, just like for Titans, and of course you can go to Saint 14, you can get weapons of light, you can just turn invisible and then do DPS at the boss. So using Lament, the power invisibility, do DPS at the boss again, turn invisible, and then pull back. So you can see there are many phases, and you can see from the health bar there's 2 lines. Now the lines indicate that the boss will have a wipe mechanic where there's going to be a blight above the boss. So for the hunter, I do recommend to do DPS at the boss but not the blight. Now I did test it out at the blight and it doesn't really do any damage, completely useless. So when the boss is going for the wipe mechanic where he's kneeled down and he's going to destroy you, Saint 14, and also, you know, the queen, we don't want that to happen, right? You can just use the power Lament to cancel the mechanic wipe, right? Which you saw over there. I did it very, very quickly. And then just gather ammo, right? And then you can just go and keep doing DPS at the boss over and over and over again. Now just make sure, especially during the wipe mechanic, make sure your Lament is good ammo. First thing you don't want to happen is you only have 10 Lament ammo and then there's a wipe mechanic and you don't have any Lament. You don't want that to happen, so make sure you do have double sword ammo finder and sword scavenger. Ignore the fusion scavenger for this build. Highly recommend. I did test it out. It's not worth it. Sometimes the boss likes to push towards you, especially where Saint 14 is. If it does, it is your opportunity to do DPS at the boss. Just always make sure and look how much ammo you have for Lament. Now if you don't have any ammo for Lament, then just use your fusion rifle, your Peacebond to clear down acolytes, a couple adds, and then you'll guarantee get heavy bricks. So I did test that out. So just take your time as much as you can because the Saint 14 bubble is not going to break. So I decided to turn invisible again, get weapons of light, turn invisible, and then just take him down. So just be careful with the Shrieker since I will ignore it. And now he's going to teleport from the other direction. And this is a time where you can just wait in the bubble for your invisibility, which I did. Turn invisible, and we're just going to take down the boss and ignore the blight. Yep. I'm gonna make this boss as a joke. Now you can go back here and then wait for your dodge, which is why I highly recommend to have 100 mobility so you can be safe and just go back to the same bubble. Now I was thinking of using my super, but I completely forgot. I'll be super honest with that. You can use your super as well, but just be very careful since a lot of acolytes and ads are shooting you at the same time. So I used Lament, took down the boss, used my super, even though I kind of forgot. And we finally beat the boss. And save 14 is safe. We didn't break his bubble, so... And we saved the queen too, Mara. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.